The entrepreneurs who are going to navigate this period most successfully are not necessarily the ones with the best strategy. The ones who will come through this period with their businesses stronger and their sense of self intact are the ones who are doing the inner work and doing it alongside the outer strategy. This is the Born to be Brilliant podcast, helping you harness the habits and unlock the tools to bring you more meaning, vibrance, and the personal power to help you shine like the diamond you are. There's a conversation I keep having, and I mean keep having, whether it's with someone in a one-to-one conversation or someone who's reached out to me online or someone in a room full of entrepreneurs who are nodding along because they recognize themselves in what I'm about to say. The conversation goes something a bit like this. I'm doing everything right. I'm showing up. I'm implementing. I'm following the frameworks. I've invested in the right support. And yet something still isn't working in the way that it should be. I feel like I'm missing something. And what I want to say to every single person who has ever felt like that, and I mean this, is that you're probably not missing a strategy. You're probably not missing the right coach or the right course or the right moment in the market. What you're most likely missing is a complete picture of what performance actually is. And that's not your fault because almost nobody is teaching this out there. So today, I want to change that. I want to introduce you to a concept that I've been developing and refining really over nearly 3 decades of lived entrepreneurial experience and life all jumbled up. And one that I now believe is actually the most important conversation we can have in business. It's called whole performance. And by the end of this episode, I think you're going to see your business and yourself quite differently. So let's start with how most people think about business and performance. Because I think the framing really here is fundamentally broken. When most entrepreneurs look at high performance or ask, how do I improve my performance? What they're actually asking is, how do I get better results? And when they ask that, they look outward, right? They look at their strategy, their marketing, their offer or their pricing, their systems. They look at what other successful businesses are doing and then they try to replicate it. It's called modeling and there's nothing wrong with that. They buy the course, they hire the consultant or they join the mastermind. And some of that works some of the time. Of course it does. Strategy matters, systems matter, skills matter. I'm not suggesting that they don't. But what I've come to understand, having built multiple businesses across nearly 3 decades and changing economical landscapes, and this is something that I think most of the business world still refuses to fully acknowledge, is the outer results of any business are always a reflection of the inner operating system of the person running or leading it. Always. Not sometimes. Not just when conditions are favourable or not just because you've had enough sleep and you're feeling motivated. Always. Because the decisions you make, the risks you take, the opportunities you spot or miss, the way you show up in your marketing, the conversations you have with potential clients, the way you handle pressure, the standards you hold yourself and your team to, all of that flows from who you are, from your psychology, from your beliefs, your patterns, your fears, your level of self-worth, your ability to think clearly, especially under pressure, your energy, your environment, and your actual physical state and how you hold yourself. That's your inner operating system. And if it's got cracks in it, if there are parts of it that are running on old programming or running on fear, all of us have this, or running on someone else's kind of blueprint or map of things, then it doesn't actually matter how good your strategy is. The ceiling is inside you. There is no entrepreneur that this doesn't apply to because there is always room for improvement, for growth, and you're never fully done doing the work. Now, I want to be really clear here because I'm aware that what I just said can sound a bit like just fix your mindset and everything will be fine. That is not what I'm saying at all. Mindset work without strategy is just wishful thinking. And strategy without the inner work hits a ceiling every single time. What I'm talking about is both, all of it together at the same time. That's whole performance. Following me? You picking this up? So let me tell you what whole performance actually means, because it has a very specific definition in my world. Whole performance is the integration of every dimension of what it takes to build a business that works, not just financially, not just strategically, but sustainably, keyword there, joyfully, and in full alignment with the person you actually are and the life you actually want. Let me just repeat that. The person you actually are and the life you actually want needs to be in alignment with that. That means it covers the things you'd expect, of course. Whole performance does include strategy, skills, systems, business model, marketing, sales. Of course it does. But it also covers the things that most business education completely ignores. Things like your psychology, your relationship with money and with worthiness, your energy levels, physically and spiritually, and what's actually driving or draining them. Your environment as well, the physical spaces you work in and the people that you surround yourself with, because both of those things have a measurable impact on your performance that most people seriously underestimate. Seriously. And it's not just about, I need everything tidy to function. That's how I roll sometimes, but it's not, it's environment, it's energetic input. And your emotional intelligence, that's the other one I wanted to mention. Your capacity for joy, your sense of purpose. Purpose is so key. And whether the business you're building actually connects to all of that. That's what all of this is. It's all of this. Whole performance says you cannot sustainably build a brilliant business without simultaneously optimizing the human running it. And I say sustainably as a key word there, because you can, short term, but you will hit a ceiling or a burnout or a problem or a bump in the road, unless we're looking at the whole thing. And the outer results, the external results, are always going to be a reflection of that inner operating system. Let me give you a little example of this. Some of you may know in my story, I have a story of a time when I started a business. God, I was very young, early 20s, and I had this idea. And it was a studio and it was performing arts. So it catered for vocals, dance, development, photography, for your publicity shots. It was like all encompassing. Great idea. And I'm really good at bringing ideas to life. But here's what happened there. And I can laugh now because we're more than 20 years on. But here's what happened. I was so caught up in the determination and the ability that I had to execute on bringing that idea to life. And I did. There was nothing wrong with that. But pretty much on opening day, the reality hit me of what actually it meant to run that business. I don't want to run that business. I didn't actually want anything to do with that business, but I hadn't even stepped into that future stance of it. I just wanted it to happen. I didn't want to actually run it. I didn't want to actually be the one that does the work each day, that markets it, that runs it. Like I hadn't even, that hadn't caught up with me. And do you know what? Yes, it was a very expensive lesson to learn, but potentially less than university, and potentially a bigger and more poignant life lesson, an entrepreneurial lesson, but one I learned very, very young. But that's a perfect example of not being in alignment with the thing you're actually creating. It's like, well, yes, but what does this give me? How is it aligned, as I said, with who you actually are and the life you actually want? It wasn't a perfect story for that example. So I want to take a moment then to tell you why this isn't just a theory I've arrived at from reading books or studying other people's businesses. As you can tell, it's not. I've been an entrepreneur for nearly 3 decades, nearly 27 years. So coming up on 3 decades. Not dabbling, as you can tell. That story is not something someone does dabbling from their kitchen table. This was a physical building, bricks and mortar. I had paid to have the whole thing gutted and renovated and fixed out. I didn't have that money. I borrowed the money. I leveraged the bank's money because I saw possibility and opportunity. So definitely not dabbling, not side hustling. Fully, completely bet everything on it. Entrepreneurship is what I've been doing since I was just 18 years old. So I'll give you a little fast track run here. I've built a girl band, or a few actually. I've choreographed and performed around the world. I've opened and closed that studio, learning those kind of painful lessons that you get along the way, that you don't just do something because you can. Just because you can do something brilliantly doesn't mean you should do that thing, right? I've built and sold a business supplying entertainment and experiential marketing to big brands and venues. I've become one of the world's leading behavioral sleep consultants, which, if you told me that at 22, I'd be doing that, I would have absolutely laughed at you. And I've built a certification and franchise around that expertise, which now has graduates and licensees operating across multiple countries. Through all of it, though, I'm not saying this to share all my accolades with you, there's been the wins and the pivots and the things I do differently and the things I wouldn't change for the world, even some of the hard things. But through all of it, I've been studying one thing. I've been studying what it actually takes. Not the highlight reel version, the real version. And what I've come to understand through all of that, what I now know with complete conviction, is that every single plateau I ever hit in business could be traced back to something internal. Every breakthrough could also be traced back to something internal. The strategy was usually fine. The market was usually there, even when it didn't feel like it. It's always there. The gap was always in me, in what I believed was possible, or in the environment I was operating in the nervous system I was operating from, or in the, whether I was running towards something that I genuinely wanted, or away from something I feared, or both. That's the insight that Born to be Brilliant is built on, really. And it's the insight that created Whole Performance to address practically and completely for you. Let me walk you through what Whole Performance covers, because I want you to be able to see yourself in this, and I want you to be able to identify where your gaps might be. So when I look at an entrepreneur's performance, I'm looking at multiple dimensions simultaneously. The first dimension is strategy and business model. Are you building something that actually works in the market as it exists now or 2 years ago? What market are we looking at? The second dimension is skills and knowledge. Do you have the practical capabilities that you need, or are there gaps that are slowing you down or costing you even? So this includes things like marketing, sales, financial literacy, and increasingly the ability to work effectively with technology and AI. The third dimension is systems and leverage. Are you working harder than your business needs you to because you haven't yet built the infrastructure that allows it to run without you being in every single thing? Because if you are, that's a performance issue, even if everything else looks fine. The fourth dimension is psychology and belief. And this is the one that most business education completely skips. What do you actually believe is possible for you? Where are your fear responses getting activated? Where is imposter syndrome running the show? What's your relationship with visibility, with selling, with being seen as an authority? Because all of that affects your results, whether you're aware of it or not. The fifth dimension is energy and well-being. And I mean this in the most practical, non-woo sense. Are you operating from a place of genuine vitality, or are you running on empty and calling it ambitious strive? Because your best thinking, your clearest decisions, your most compelling content, and your most confident sales conversations, all of that requires energy, not caffeine, actual sustainable energy. And that means looking at your sleep, your movement, your nutrition, your rest, and how you're managing your nervous system. The sixth dimension is environment and proximity. Who are you spending your time with? And what standards are those environments calibrating you to? This one is underestimated more than almost any other factor. The people around you set the baseline for what feels normal and possible. If your baseline isn't serving you, your results will reflect that, inevitably. Okay, the seventh dimension, and this one is the one that holds everything else together, is purpose and fulfillment. There's a difference between success and fulfillment. Purpose and fulfillment. Are you building towards something that actually matters to you? Not what you think you should want, what you actually want. Because if you're building the wrong thing, like I was in that example, even if you're building it brilliantly, there'll always be a drag in your performance, a resistance, an exhaustion that strategy alone just cannot solve. So which of those dimensions do you know needs attention for you? I really would love you to have a think about that and replay this episode if you want to visit those again. For me, one of mine has been following other people's ways of doing things. So it might not be the thing, but the approach to the thing. I should do it this way. This is how everyone else does it. This is clearly working out there. I should do it that way. And it's like, that way doesn't suit me. That way doesn't work for me. I need to do it in a way that aligns for me. I can still get those results. I can still be on a level playing field, but I have to do it my way so that it feels aligned and fulfilling. Here's why I think this conversation is especially important at this particular moment in time. We are living through one of the most significant shifts in the business landscape that I've seen in nearly 30 years of doing this. The market has changed. We know this, right? Consumer behavior has changed. Buying psychology has changed. Technology, and specifically AI, has fundamentally altered the playing field in ways that are still unfolding rapidly. And the entrepreneurs who are going to navigate this period most successfully are not necessarily the ones with the best strategy, because the strategy landscape is shifting faster than most strategies can even keep up with. The ones who will come through this period with their businesses stronger and their sense of self intact are the ones who are doing the inner work and doing it alongside the outer strategy. You don't have to quit one to do the other. The ones who continue to build or grow their operating system, their psychology, their belief, their energy, their environment, to a standard that allows them to adapt, pivot, think clearly in all scenarios, and keep moving forward, even when the external conditions are uncertain. One thing I can tell you for sure from every twist and turn I've been through in economical times is, with uncertainty comes a change of behavior in the people. But that also presents great opportunity if you are sharp and you can spot it and you can act upon it. Some of the most phenomenally successful businesses in the world were born from times of adversity and uncertainty. So that is whole performance in practice. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. So what do I invite you then to take away from this episode? Hopefully loads. I hope you're taking notes here. I invite you though to start thinking about your business performance like a high performance athlete would think about their performance. Think of it like that. A world-class athlete doesn't just train the physical skill. They work with sports psychologists. They manage their nutrition and their sleep as well, with extraordinary precision, I might add. They are deliberate about the environments that they put themselves in and who they train with. They have coaches who look at every dimension of their performance simultaneously, because they understand that if any one dimension is significantly weak, it limits the entire system. You've heard so many stories, I'm sure, about these athletes and sports people. They can literally think themselves into missing that shot or winning it. Your business deserves that same quality of attention as well. And more importantly, you deserve it. Because what I know to be true, you weren't born to just get by. You weren't born to build a business that exhausts you or runs you. You weren't born to cap your own results because nobody ever showed you the full picture of what performance actually requires. You, my friend, were born to be brilliant. And whole performance is the framework that gets you there. And for those of you who don't already know, this is why I have built eSchool. eSchool was created from a place of what every entrepreneur needs. It doesn't matter what stage you're at, whether you are considering starting out or starting out to being in business many decades and make multiple seven figures or beyond. You don't get there without a certain amount of self-work, but you also don't ever complete all of what you need to do. And times change and landscapes change and technologies change. So being on top of this forever is what drives sustainable success. And that's what eSchool's for. eSchool is the place where all of this lives, all of this work as a whole performance concept. So if this episode has landed for you, I'd love you to share it with someone who you think needs to hear it. Anyone you can think of, just one person. We're building something really special over at Born to be Brilliant with eSchool. And the more people who are part of this conversation, the richer it gets for everyone. And if you're not already following me on Instagram, come and find me there. My handle is I am Lucy Shrimpton, because the conversation continues every single day over there in my content and in my DMs and in the comments. So I'd love for you to jump in there and connect with me as a human being, not just something you consume while you're in the car. If you're interested in going deeper on everything or anything we've talked about today, the strategy, the psychology, the systems, the community, the whole picture, then eSchool is the place where all of that lives. And it's my all-in-one entrepreneurial hub that's genuinely unlike anything else I've seen out there, because it addresses all the dimensions we've talked about today in one place at a price that removes the financial barrier to getting proper support. You can find out everything at lucyshrimpton.com or go into the show notes and find the link there. Until next time, you were born to be brilliant. Don't let anyone or anything convince you otherwise. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and remember, go out there and shine your light bright, because you were born to be brilliant.